Going live, going live, going live. A little technical difficulty. I didn't put myself in the room. Apologize for that. So, what are we going to do today? We're going to be doing some loaded potato skins, right? I got a couple more minutes. I'm going to rinse out the spoon because I just dropped it on the floor. We're going to get a new spoon. Let's just put the spoon over here. We'll wash that later. We're going to be using the spoon a lot. Bang, crash, boom. I don't know what that was. But let's go live. We're going to do loaded potato skins, right? So we got the potatoes we've already baked. We did 3. The recipe calls for 6. We're doing everything half today because I'm here by myself. Aaron abandoned me. Just kidding. Anyway, once again, there's an invitation going out to you. If you would like to cook something vegan right here with me, I would love it. And we could talk about the properties of vegetables, fruits, seeds, nuts, any kind of plant that you want to use, I'm game for. So this comes from, I believe it is a Forks Over Knives recipe. We're just going to do it live. We're, as always, going to adjust things to my taste. I'm learning how I like to cook. We had 3 russet potatoes. We put the oven at 400 degrees. We put that in for, we're going to do for an hour. Timer. Let's go ahead and take them out. The recipe calls for 55 minutes to 65 minutes. So we're going to see if that works. Very hot. Take our potatoes out. Turn the oven off, right? So we're going to let that cool down a little bit. We're going to slice them half by half in a mixing bowl. We're going to put garlic, and I'm cheating today. The garlic that I'm using, I normally use a garlic clove. We're going to do the, who was it, Sarah Lee, who had her little show where she would cheat a little bit by using pre-processed stuff, right? So this is pretty not processed. It's basically just garlic, water, citric acid, and that's it. So that's what we're going to use in our mixture here. What our mixture is going to be the flesh of the potato. So once these cool down enough that I can handle them, we're going to take them, we're going to split them down the center lengthwise. We're going to scoop out the potato, the white flesh of it. We're going to mix in some garlic, plant milk, mustard, nutritional yeast. I'm doing everything half because I have 3 potatoes here. Rather than using a lot of stuff, I'm not going to. So on the garlic, it says 2 cloves. I'm basically going to do 1 clove. So I'm going to go ahead and start putting some of this stuff into the bowl. So we got some garlic here. Got to get rid of. Let's go ahead and move this timer because it's driving me nuts. So, garlic. Love the smell of garlic. Garlic is amazing for you. So we're going to just go ahead and call that 1 clove, but that's probably a little bit more. What else do we need? We need the potato flesh. We need some plant milk. The plant milk in the recipe calls for 1/2 cup. We are going to use a 1/4 cup. Right here, just bought this at Walmart. Almond milk is what we're going to use. I love all the milks, so we're going to try almond milk today. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to open this. We're going to use about 1/4 cup. Once again, I am not the most accurate when cooking. When cooking, it is my opinion that you don't need to be extremely 100% accurate. It's not like baking. When you get the ratios wrong in baking, there's a bigger price to pay. You're not going to get the texture of stuff that you want. So in our bowl, we've just got plant milk and some garlic. That's it so far. Then we're going to take some mustard. The mustard in the recipe calls for, where is that mustard? The mustard, 1 tablespoon prepared mustard, right? So I just grabbed the mustard that I had in my refrigerator, which may not be 100%. We got some vinegar, water, mustard seed, horseradish, salt, mustard flour, xanthan gum, natural flavor, fruit and vegetable juice to color, turmeric, sorbic acid. So that sounds pretty good. That's not too bad. We're supposed to be using a tablespoon. So I'm just putting what came out of the cap, right? That's supposed to be about a half tablespoon. And if I've got a little bit more, I can adjust the flavors as we go. Got a little bit on my hand. I'm going to lick it off. I'm going to go wash my hands. I'm going to talk to you in the background. I love mustard. I don't know about you, but I love me some mustard. We're going to also add some nutritional yeast in this case. So if you're vegan, nutritional yeast is kind of a cool thing because it gives you some of the kind of cheesy flavor. Bragg's is the only one that I really know of, but I'm sure there's other brands on the market. But that's the one that's been around for a long time. They fortify stuff with B12. So a lot of times as a vegan, you're not getting a lot of B12. So you need to either supplement somehow or get fortified, which means that they're adding some of those vitamins in there. So this is supposed to be a quarter cup, so an eighth of a cup. So guess what? We're going to do a capful. And just see how that is. Right, flavor-wise, we're just going for the flavor that we like. So let's see if these potatoes have cooled down a little bit. Still a little bit warm. Let's get a kitchen towel. We got us 3 potatoes. I'm going to cut my head off, which means that I'm going to show you my cutting board and what I'm doing. Right, so we've got us 3 potatoes. We're going to slice them right down the halves lengthwise. And we are going to take us, that is still a little bit warm, right? So we're going to take us a spoon. I've talked a little bit about, I like a big, fat, flat knife. And we're going to scoop out this potato flesh. We're just going to take that into our bowl here. Just kind of roughing it out. Like I said, still a little bit warmer than I had expected. I thought that I started my potatoes a little earlier than 11 o'clock so that they would be a little bit cool by the time we started the show. But hey, it didn't work out that way. And we adapt, we improvise, we overcome. That's what we do here on this show. We're learning, we're teaching. See, in the medical world, we have a saying, see one, do one, teach one, right? So that is kind of, as you get better and better in medicine, you see one done, you do one, and then you teach one, right? Teaching reinforces. Teaching reinforces in our own mind the steps that we're taking to do something that we like to do or that is necessary to do. So we're trying to stay healthy here. So we're eating lots of plants. So I'm going to suggest to you that eating lots of plants is very healthy, very good for your health. It can help prevent a lot of diseases. And I would suggest that more plants, whole plants that you can put in your diet, the healthier you are going to be. So I know a lot of times it's easy to grab a bag of chips off of the store shelf, but here's the thing. Those are highly processed. They use a lot of oil, a lot of things that over time can be detrimental to your health. The Western diet, I would tell you, is probably one of the worst diets in the world if you were trying to live a long and healthy life. Over here in the background, you also see some sun-dried tomatoes. Now, it's kind of interesting to me because I think I got this recipe off of Forks Over Knives, which I think is an amazing resource that you should check out if you haven't. So, but most sun-dried tomatoes are packed in oil. So I got the only ones that I could find which have oil in the bottle, the glass bottle, and I rinse them off a lot because I believe that is what I'm trying to stay away from, processed oils. That's why I've started following some of these people like Forks Over Knives. I think that if you can minimize the amount of oil or processed vegetables, so white flour, processed wheat flour most likely, different other flours sometimes are used. So the more wheat, whole grain that you can use, better. Sometimes I talk about the hierarchy of health, and the hierarchy of health to me is what can you do to get better on the hierarchy of health? So a candy bar is highly processed, got a lot of stuff in there that may be detrimental to your health. Processed sugar, and especially at the levels that most Americans eat, processed sugar is really, really not good for you, right? So, and I'm going to suggest something to you that may be surprising. The more oil that you have, the more fat that you get into your muscle tissue, higher your chance of developing type 2 diabetes. So I watch a lot of a gentleman called Dr. Michael Greger. He has a lot of scientific studies, a lot of stuff that in my mind is proof that a vegan diet is the healthiest diet. Now, I'm not saying that should you choose to eat a little meat, maybe you can still stay healthy, but the safest is vegan. And then you could be an omnivore and still be extremely healthy. I would suggest more of a Mediterranean type diet where you're eating fish, but as long as you're minimizing your amount of meat intake, it can be healthy. But I would suggest to you that a truly vegan diet is the healthiest, is going to promote health the most. You decide what you take with that information. So basically, now we also need some chickpeas. So once again, I talked about the hierarchy of health. And we have a can here. We've rinsed the can. We've drained the beans. We're going to use half of that can. We're basically going to smash this stuff up to a consistency that looks good to us. So I'm going to save the other half. Maybe I'll just eat those later. I haven't decided. I'm going to take a fork. I am going to just, first of all, incorporate everything together. I'm just basically spinning. Then I'm going to mash the chickpeas to a consistency that I like. We're going to put those back with some other things. I think we've got some capers. We've got some sun-dried tomatoes. We're going to bake those for 10 to 20 minutes. Then we're going to put some scallions, some shallots, some tahini. I don't have any tahini. I couldn't find tahini at the store today before doing this. So we're going to use some hummus. We're going to blend that down a little bit. We're going to make a thin sauce and use that to drizzle over our loaded potato skins. So once again, I'm just trying to mash this down to where it's incorporated together. We're going to put those back in the potato skins. We're going to put that back in the oven. In fact, we need to turn this bake back on. That was kind of dumb of me, huh? So we're at 320. So maybe it'll take a little longer than 10 minutes, depending on how long I take to put this in. And like I said, cutting off my head. Let's put my head back on there where you can see it. So professional, Mark. Your editing skills are amazing. Your camera skills are amazing. And what I'm going to suggest to you is the biggest takeaway from this is eating more healthy, eating more vegetables, finding maybe some side dishes that you can use for yourself that are healthy, nutritious, delicious, and maybe saving some money because you're doing like me, you're just cooking it from scratch, right? I've also showed you some ways that maybe you can cut your time instead of, I could have taken the garlic and prepared that, but sometimes when I'm talking, I miss things. I don't want to ever cut my finger on camera when I'm working with you guys. And so I may add just a little bit of moisture to this. It's kind of dry. So I'm going to take some vegetable stock, which is not called for. I'm going to put just a little splash of it in here to make this a tiny bit moister. I don't know if you can see this. Just a little splash of some vegetable stock. A little bit dry. We're going to see how that works. All right, so our next step is we're going to put those back into, oh, nope. we're going to add the shallots, capers, sun-dried tomatoes. So let's get back here to where we were at. We are going to cut my head off again here. The shallot, the sun-dried tomatoes are right over here. We're going to basically, we've rinsed that very good because we don't want a whole lot of olive oil. So I'm basically just doing kind of a almost fine chop, medium chop, if you will. This knife needs to be sharpened a little bit. Who's in charge of that? Oh yeah, that's me. I'm the one that's in charge of that. So I've just got a little bit of sun-dried tomatoes. We're going to throw that in our mixture. We're also going to do some capers in this recipe. Let's look and see here. Capers, and then the shallots. One shallot, one. So I was going to use some, yeah, I'm still going to do that. We're going to take half of this. We're going to put this in our bowl here also. Let's see what's the best way to do this so that you guys can see this. I'm going to have to invest in a cameraman eventually, right? So we're basically just taking scissors. Keeping that pretty finely cut. There's some greens. I may also get some white in here. I may just use scissors for that. We'll see. We'll experiment. This is an experimentation. Let's see what you guys like. I love onion. I don't like it quite as much as my grandfather. My grandfather used to eat an onion whole like an apple. I don't do that. I'm going to cut basically those roots off. And here's what I tell you. I eat a lot more of the vegetable than a lot of other people do. So sometimes you may want to modify what I do, because I don't necessarily peel as well as other people, because I feel that there's a lot of vitamins under the peel in the skin of certain vegetables, and that it's much better for you. That's adding a little bit of color, which is always a good thing. I might have put a little bit more tomato in here. I may still do that. I may go off camera and get a little bit more tomato. So once again, like I said, on the sun-dried tomatoes, they are usually packaged in olive oil. So I like to rinse the hell out of those, because to me, I'm trying to limit my oil intake, right? So I'm going to go off camera here for a second. I'm going to rinse the heck out of this and get as much of this oil off as I can, right? Because I'm trying to limit the amount of oil in my diet. So I'm trying also not to make a huge mess here, because guess who gets to clean it up? Me. And guess who's not the best person to clean stuff up? So my knife, which really needs to be sharpened, it's doing an okay job. A little bit more tomato in there. We're just trying to incorporate everything together, get a nice color, red, green. What is that, kind of a Christmas color? We're going to throw some capers in there. We're also going to cut us a shallot. Do you know what a shallot is? A shallot is kind of this is supposed to be, I think, a tablespoon of capers. I might put a little more than that in there. I'm just getting some of the capers in here. We're also going to put some spices in here that are not necessarily called for in this recipe. Let's do one more tomato. What the hell? No, for time's sake, I'm just going to leave it at this. I'm going to put a little bit more capers in here. I'm going to go ahead and chop up this shallot. I'm going to put that in here also. So this is a shallot. It is in allium family also. I don't know if you've heard Allium is super good for you. We're going to finely chop that. Take a little bit of time. Let's put this down where you can see my chop. Right now, I'm going to just put this at the side of the table here. I'm going to peel. I'm going to get, I call this the paper, the outer layer. And I may even go one layer into the shallot as I'm peeling that. I want all the paper stuff off because the texture, in my opinion, is not as good. You want the juicy part. Maybe we need to cut this a little bit. And sometimes maybe you'll take off more than you want to, but you definitely want all the paper, what I call the paper of the allium, off. So see that brown? I'm going to get down to where this is more white and purple. Maybe I will. But interesting TV, Mark. You should have been a cook show host. Oh, I'm kind of trying to be, just on YouTube and Facebook, right? So there we go. That's where I like it. Let's get rid of all this stuff. That will go compost into my yard and possibly garden in the future. I like to reuse stuff. I love the taste of garlic. I love the taste of onions, and I love the taste of shallots. Shallots are kind of an in-between little animal there. Maybe next show I'll kind of have a little bit more prep work done so you don't have to watch me doing all of this. We're going to take maybe half of the shallot then. Right, more for time's sake than anything else. And it called for one shallot, and we're doing kind of a half recipe. So, woo, this has a little bit of the, I watched a cool guy. I may connect with that guy on YouTube. There's a dude who has a lot of, if you put a little bit of water, if I were smart, I would put a little bit of water on this onion shallot to try to prevent some of the tearing up. I'm starting to tear up a little bit here as I'm chopping this. All right, I'm going to save the rest of this shallot for later. And I'm going to finish chopping this tiny bit here. And I know this makes for great TV. Once again, I'm gauging things as I go. Definitely need a cameraman, maybe some more cameras. Eventually, these videos will get to the place where, hey, they're closer to professional quality than when I first started. So let's get that bowl back over here. Let's put the shallot in there. Let's actually try to do this. I'm going to push this over. Hopefully do that without making a mess. I'm trying to leave my potato skins on here. I'm going to try to scrape this off without disrupting my potato skins on the cutting board too much. I know a lot of the old cooking shows used to have everything all pre-prepped, so basically there's a lot more talking. They have their stuff in little ramekins or bowls or whatever. Maybe we'll do that here too. Tell me what you think. Would it make it a smoother process for you if we did some of this? This is also kind of some of the struggles for Mark as he is learning how to cook. And once again, I am open to suggestions. Like if you want to come cook with us, me, sometimes my niece is with me. I've had a couple other people. Would love to cook with you. To me, it's a group effort. Cooking is a family, group, friend, community ordeal. So now basically we're going to just go ahead. We're going to scoop these back. Woohoo! So professional. So cool. We're going to just go ahead and start putting a little bit of everything back into these potato skins. I'm just going to take 1 scoop each, and then we're going to just kind of go around. This might need a little bit more liquid. Maybe next time, maybe I'll put a little bit more plant milk. Maybe a little bit more. I'm going to definitely put some spices on top of this. I should have put some more spices in here when I was going. That was my plan. The best laid plans sometimes. I got all involved in the talking, and I don't do as good a job executing as what I like. Like I said, we're going to get better at this each and every iteration. What is an iteration like? The next deal, right? Each time we do it, we're going to get better and better. We're also going to get some feedback from you guys. So we're going to know, like, hey, what do you want to see? What's important to you? To me, it's about health, eating more healthy. My goal is, I'm old. I have young kids. I want to live as long as I can and participate in as much of their life as I can. So being healthy, exercise, eating better, right? So this is part of me paying penance for my past. Did I used to be a junk food junkie going through the drive-through? That looks crazy cool right there. Let's go ahead and put us a little bit of paprika on these bad boys. More for looks than anything else. If I were smart, that same dude talked about putting parchment paper down for a lot of stuff. I'm also going to use some garam masala, which is a mixture of paprika, some spices, some other spices. Same kind of color. It smells really good. Oh, I like to experiment with different spices. We're also going to put a little bit of Italian spices on that. We're going to pop those back in the oven for 15 minutes because the recipe calls for 10 to 15 minutes. I'm going to eat this off my finger, but I'm going to be using my other hand to put those on there so I don't get too grossed out. In fact, I'll do that without eating it yet. I'm just putting that on a little tray here. We're going to pop these back in for 10 to 15 minutes. If you're in the Phoenix area and you are close to Encanto Park, if you knew my father, we called him Bubba. We're having a memorial for him at Encanto Park, and we would love for you to join us. 2 o'clock. Let's use a towel so we don't burn ourselves. Let's bring this down a little bit so you can see the oven. There's the pan there with our potato skins. Let's try not to burn ourselves. Throw that back in the oven. Let's try to tilt this bad boy back up. Let's let that go. Now I'm going to eat this. We're pretty much done as a... So basically, I don't have any tahini, so I'm going to try to jerry-rig this with a little bit of hummus, a little bit of lime juice. That is what is going to make our sauce that we're going to drizzle over the top. So it should be tahini. Tahini is basically sesame seeds ground up to make a paste. I'm using hummus because that's one of the ingredients in most hummus. And we're going to make a sauce out of that. We're going to drizzle over that. We're going to send you some pictures on the Facebook group. If you're on YouTube and you want the recipe, reach out, or you want some pictures. I don't know how to put pictures on YouTube. So I'm going to get better at YouTube also. So you guys have a great day. Once again, 2 o'clock in Encanto Park. Come hang out with us in celebration of my dad's life. He died earlier this year, and so we're going to celebrate his life. And also, if you would love this recipe, I will send you the original recipe. You've seen how I've changed it a little bit. You guys have a great day, and we will talk to you next Saturday. If you have any suggestions of what we could cook, or if you would love to cook with me to show me how to get better at this thing, I would love it. Have a great day. Talk soon. Peace out.